In the wake of nationwide pandemics and racial strife, we face a blossoming need to develop meaningful and sustainable community partnerships.
So today we're going to talk about this really important concept and the ways which we can be a better partner within communities. Joining us now is our relationship guru, Dr. Corey Yeager. Dr. Yeager, thanks so much for being with us today.
Good morning. Good to be with both of you.
Let's just get started. Can you explain just the idea of community partnerships and really why they are so important?
Yeah, so Heather, I think just basically and simply community partnerships are referring to the ways in which people within the community and outside of the community kind of seek each other's support. One thing we know about relationships and partnerships is that wherever one partner is weak, the other partner is probably stronger. So that's what bonds us in terms of those relationships and those partnerships. Now is the time that we are seeking those partnerships, really probably more than ever, but having an understanding of why we need those partnerships, what the community is in need of and asking for is critical to kind of move those partnerships and relationships forward.
So when you're describing this in terms of a relationship, put this in, give me a real example of this. Are we talking about a person partnering? You know, are we talking about me partnering with a community organization or with another person, or how does this play out?
Yeah, Jason, I think it's a both-and approach. I think oftentimes the individual family can seek to support communities that may be in need. We look at things after the chaos that has happened in Minneapolis. Many communities were left without access to grocery stores and pharmacies, and you saw folks from outside of those communities coming in to be supportive, bringing food and supplies to the community that was in need. And oftentimes, I think one of the things, Jason, to your point, is figuring out exactly what it is that the community needs, not others outside of the community saying, well, here's what I think they need, but engaging that community to be clear on what the needs are, and then seeing if that individual or that family unit or that community outside can bring those needs forward and supply those needs for that community.
So I think, Corey, especially when you're talking about partnerships across racial lines and racial divides, it's upon the person who is doing these partnerships or working on these partnerships to do their work, to educate themselves first on what is actually, why you're even doing the partnership and what the supported partnership is.
That's exactly right, Heather. So one of the things that we want to caution ourselves against in those partnerships is having that savior complex of saying that I will, from the outside of the community, come in and save and be the savior of the folks that are in that community struggling. Even though the need is high, that there is no need for communities to have saviors, only support. One thing that I think is something that we should be discussing and understanding in terms of these partnerships, Heather, is that community partners really contribute, participate, and are active within those communities that they seek to support. If they are not, they're really doing the work of being community colonizers. Oftentimes researchers, university researchers come in to do their research in the community, but they don't leave the community better than they engaged it. But what they leave with is things that they can do to write a paper and have it published. They draw the benefit, but the community is left having been victimized and vulnerable to those partnerships that didn't pay off.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you avoid that?
Well, I think that being clear on the mission, being clear on what you're coming to do in terms of support, being empathetic to what the needs of that community are, understanding that the cultural differences many times are something that we want to have a good understanding and frame on. So if I go in saying that I want to help and partner so this community can actualize the American dream, understanding that that community may say, I don't know if there's an American dream in our community, it almost is an American nightmare. So those worlds may clash. So getting a frame and an understanding of what the difference is as we move forward, I think is really important, Jason.
And it's important then to continue these over the longer term?
Yeah, Heather, you said, we look back, May 25th, I believe, was the murder of George Floyd. And you can see that the conversation oftentimes begins to dwindle, which is natural. But over time, the community continues to need those partnerships and support, but it dwindles away. It's one of the reasons that I wanted to talk about it today, because as we start to enter 2 months, 6, 7, 8 weeks from the moment of chaos, the need does not go away, but the partnerships oftentimes dwindle. The energy that is around wanting to be supported is high from the beginning, but if you go 2 or 3 months away, people don't necessarily do that engagement. So keeping the energy and focus up, I think, is an extremely important aspect.
Dr. Corey Yeager, thanks for being with us. Lots to think about. Appreciate it.
Thank you.